cost a lot of legal funds, okay? Both sides. What lawyers say is, it doesn't matter if we're right, it doesn't matter if we're wrong, what's the cost, let's get out of this. If you're going on a matter of principle, we should stick to our guns.
Well, principle or not, I mean, obviously the taxpayers are the ones that somewhere down the road are obviously going to be working on something.
Let me tell you, sir, the taxpayers have been forking out since day one. This is the first time you're being exposed to what you've exactly been forking out. This is the first time you know exactly what happened on the waterfront. And I assure you, if you got the old council back in, you would have no idea of the fiasco on the waterfront. For the first time, you're seeing legal bills that you pay. We budget $250,000 every year. We do that every year. $250,000, $250,000 every year. Every year we pay $1.5 million, $1.4 million, $1.6 million every year.
You're talking about legal fees.
Just general legal fees for the corporation. And it's been going on ad infinitum.
Excuse me, Orville. I'd like to just respond since you asked all three of us. The night at council, and for anyone who watches council on TV would have seen this, I was in an argument with Mr. McRae about the fact that he tried to buy property from Buchanan for the overpass that we don't want without council approval, which is illegal. It did not come to us for discussion. We didn't pass a bylaw to do it. He was doing it on his own. And I found that out quite by accident when I was looking up some other information. And he did try and throw me out of the city office because I was looking at information he didn't want me to have. But the night I saw that he would go as far as to buy property that we don't even want, that was it for me. I believe there's cause. If you saw the Portside documents that I saw, and we made sure as a committee, Ken Wendt, Rennie Larson, Orville and I were the Portside committee, we made sure every member of council had every piece of paper so they would see what's wrong. And I can assure you, if you talk to most of them, they'll say they didn't read it. And some meetings, they get a pile like this, they'd immediately give it to the clerk and say, shred it. So the fact that we provided it to them is all we can do, whether they read it. Some of them are still with the blinders on thinking we're going to have Disney World out there if we just find a new developer and this is pristine land and we're luckier than ever. But having read the Portside information and seen what I've seen, there's just cause times 10. And I would say so for other people some of who have quit the corporation.
I think what
you've got
to ask yourself, why would three councillors not go with the flow?
I guess I'm an odd person. You know what, I got to think it's something.
I've got a meeting just after the middle of next month. You read that paper there, you can call me, okay? You read that affidavit, that's before the courts. Ask why the Chronicle Journal and Google Media haven't covered it. Probably one of the most important things that happened the other night was when Councillor Roy was able to extract that Gary Henry was told by Brian McRae not to provide me legal coverage. You've never seen that in the newspapers. You've never seen it. I mean, if you saw Shaw Cable that night, you heard it and saw it with your own eyes. But you never saw it in the media. You never saw it in the Chronicle Journal. Now that alone may be just cause. But it's not reported. The Chronicle Journal has, and CKPR has everything that I've just given you, plus, plus, plus. They've chosen not to report it. You got to ask yourself why. This gentleman here?
Yeah. Orville, I was going to ask Councillor Roy, was you standing up then, keeping with what you said, if in the event McRae were to get a high settlement, let's say he did, could you then go after him and sue him for some of the money now that we're on the hook for some of the stuff that he's authorized, that he should have, such as that bill to the bank?
Well, there's always the opportunity to countersue. Unfortunately, by him naming Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Santa, and myself in the legal proceedings, we're in conflict of interest and we're we're out of the room, which serves him well. So the opportunity is there. You always have the chance to countersue.
They had an opinion from the city solicitor who asked, why aren't you launching a countersuit?
That was my next question.
Yes, it was offered. Why aren't you launching a countersuit?
If I were in
but
the
you
room,
have to ask the 10, not the 3.
If I were in the room, that's where I'd be going. For anything we can't recover on this whole mess from the insurer, and I'm not confident we're going to get anything there at all, that's my opinion, because things were so messed up. The insurance company demands the opportunity to hire their own lawyer and take care of their case. We didn't do that this time, so they're probably going to write us off. But I don't want you as a taxpayer, or me as a taxpayer, to pay for all this mess that people brought through 3 levels of court that can't hear it. And for things that anybody's responsible for, I would like them to be held legally responsible.
So that $2.5 million that you guys voted not to give to the Royal Bank, that's a done deal? We got to give it to them?
No, not yet.
We do not have a contract with the Royal Bank.
Right.
We have a contract with Thunder Bay Waterfront. If they were to come and ask us for that money tomorrow, we'd have to give it to them. You would have to raise the question to other members of council, why in the world are you offering it to the bank when you don't owe it to the bank? And the Phillips demolition, they have taken Thunder Bay Waterfronts to court for the $500,000 they stiffed them. They didn't show up at the court. Nobody seems to know where they are, but there's a judgment against them for $600,000, and I'm sure the demolition company's never going to see that. But in my opinion, this bank thing is a crock. We do not have a contract with them. Why would you offer to do that? Why would you offer money to someone you don't legally have to give it, especially if somebody else is the person you really owe it to, and they may come tomorrow and ask for the same money, and then you have to...
That gentleman back there, these are some of the decisions he made during the lame duck
period.
You will want to read that affidavit. It gives you the tip of the iceberg, but that is explained in the affidavit. Pardon me?
Who signed the bank loan from the Royal Bank?
Thunder Bay Waterfront has the loan. They can come tomorrow and ask us for that money.
They're the developers.
Yes. Thunder Bay Waterfront was the developers. The paperwork is in their name at the bank.
Now, doesn't it strike you funny that we owe Thunder Bay Waterfront Developments $2.9 million, and that's legit? It's legit. Why don't they come to us and say, give me the $2.9 million so I can pay off the Royal Bank? Where are they? Where are they?
Who are they?
Well, you know what the thing is, this thing is so spun. This thing is so spun. Now, if I owe this gentleman $2.9 million, and you owe me $2.9 million, and I know you're a good creditor, a good risk, give me my 2.9, and I'll get him off my back for 2.9. It's that simple. Why isn't it happening? One of the reasons it may not be happening is because the Royal Bank knows, not only from our attorneys, but from their own attorneys, in a memo, they needed a bylaw from this council authorizing it. Never had it. This council did not authorize that transaction. Okay? There was a lot of other transactions this council didn't authorize. This gentleman here, and the media would like to paint as dysfunctional. And I'm talking the last 6 months of this year, we probably will be dysfunctional, because anytime there's a vote to do a judicial inquiry or something like that, one thing you forgot to know, 3 councillors ran home. They left the room when they saw this resolution on the table. They were out of the room. 6 stayed, 3 were away, and 3 took off.
You waited until we left.
You don't want to bet on that, do you? You want to bet on that? They had the resolution in their hands, sir, and they left town. So that's exactly what you're dealing with here. Okay? Now, there was a lady right here who had a question.
Yeah, I was just wondering about, I'm new to the political thing, so I want more information. Is the waterfront stuff that you guys found, the information on that, available to the public? So we can look at it and see whether or not the waterfront would have been a go or not.
First of all, let me assure
Because we
you.
are the ones that elect you to be in our best interest, but if we don't get to see what you're actually deciding on.
This is obviously your first board meeting. Mine. I produced a lot of documentation. I'll bring some next time. There was claims that there was $123 million in secured funding. That was never true. That was claimed by members of administration, members of council. They said that there was a 180-room, 5-star hotel going to be built. That was never true. There was going to be this games complex. There was none of it was true. In fact, we had a legal opinion from our own city solicitor saying, don't go down this road, it's dangerous. You've left the corporation exposed, and they still went down that road. Had council known, even the previous council, who in my opinion was asleep, Had they known all the details of exactly what was transpiring, they would have voted against Portside. They wouldn't have gone. You'd have to be completely off the wall. That gentleman back there.
I was listening to Boscov the SNP and stuff like that, and I seem to have problem understanding where he's coming from. If you were lost his kids away, he figured that you shouldn't take the guys.
Yeah.
These 5 guys lose support, which according to them says you're right, they're wrong. He seems to think we should pay their guys because it's not fair.
Mr. Boscov is working with them.
I guess so. How about yourself, which side he's
Yes, sir.
How do you get an inquiry? This is getting like a goddamn soap opera.
You know what?
He got up and asked for, excuse me, that you asked for an inquiry. And then, before you get an inquiry, I've been around the workforce, I worked in the city 2 years too. And the police, the biggest job, you suspend things and you look into it. But this way, you can't get an inquiry. So where do we go from here?
You know what I would do?
Go to the government?
Here's what I would do.
You can't go to city hall.
What I would do, if I were you, I'd get everybody here and phone every councillor. You know, 3 people who want a judicial inquiry, 6 people vote for it, and say, you know what? You don't clean up this city, you ain't gonna get my vote. Not only that, I'll tell 12 people who aren't gonna vote for you. You've got 3 councillors who want to go ahead and do it. My opinion, anybody who doesn't want to go for a judicial inquiry based on the stuff we've seen, there's something terribly wrong here.
But again, you know, you can't get information, and I didn't get everybody, thing for it. You know, I can't accept, you know, that guy who worked in the city for many years, and he said, if you ask him for a report, you know, if I couldn't get the old days, I'd phone you up and say, okay, but I'll get it to you, or I'll get the information. But this way, everybody, you know, is just keeping in the blind. I mean, there's the union, and the only thing I've seen come out in the last 10 years is you give the union 3%. Somebody must have made a decision. I think you people, you're supposed to make the policy and make sure that the vibe is there, carry it out.
Yeah.
You know, and if you fire him wrong, I'll sue your ass off.
Yeah.
That, you know,
And how long ago did you do this?
oh, it's 12 years ago.
In 1994, 95 was the fundamental change happened, okay? That might have been just as you were leaving, or you know, you had already left. Things have changed fundamentally. Now, just trying to recap it, what you said.